Visalaw is the first immigration intelligence platform built by immigration lawyers for immigration lawyers. We built it to support every area of an immigration law firm's work, not just research, not just drafting, but the full practice of immigration law, restoring attorneys' time for client advocacy. It starts with data. Visalaw AI is built on the largest and most robust immigration law dataset available, curated by immigration attorneys and continuously updated. Every feature, workflow, and AI capability is grounded in authoritative immigration law. The platform is built with enterprise-grade security, and customer data is never retained or used to train AI models. Our improved case law tools deliver faster, deeper legal analysis with clear authority, stronger context, and reliable citations you can trust. Our new research agent goes further. It identifies your practice area, checks live government sources for policy changes through GovSync, searches the full catalog of US case law, statutes, and regulations when needed, and verifies every citation before results reach you. Visalaw AI. This is immigration intelligence you can trust.
Fantastic. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited to be joined by my friends here at Visalaw AI, Greg, Josh, Tyler. Thank you guys for being here as well. This is an exciting day, our first public preview of Visalaw 2.0. We've been talking about it this month. We've been sharing about it this month. We've been telling our current customers and people who are interested in Visalaw just how excited we are about this new product, or this new update, I should say. It's really the same product, just with some really awesome renovations, you could say. Josh, you used the analogy with me yesterday about we've got a new engine under the hood. We've got a little bit of a paint job on the car, but we're still driving in the same lane here. So today, the goal of the webinar is to really just get a first look and show you guys what's changing with this new update. And all of these changes are going to be really, really positive ones that we're sure are going to have a really meaningful and positive impact for the user and really for your clients as well. And so as we get going here, we'll also talk about the experience, and we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing behind the scenes, and talk about the rollout as well. And so because it's a live walkthrough, I'm going to hand this off to Josh here in a second. Just let you explain a little bit about overall what's going on. But we're doing this intentionally because we want to show everybody really what is to be expected and what changes you'll see coming up here really soon. Specifically focusing on research, I think, today, but there's a lot of really great things that are happening with our drafts product as well. We might mention that just a bit here as well. Just some housekeeping before we get into the full demo. This is being recorded, so if you have to step away, you get a call, anything like that, just look for an email from our provider, StreamYard, and you'll have that full recording and share it with friends, share it with your colleagues, or rewatch anything that you want to just get a second look at. If you have questions, use the comment section here. We're happy to answer those during today's webinar, but we're also going to have a dedicated Q&A section about 40 minutes in as well, or whenever we finish with all of our content, wherever that may be. In addition, I'll go ahead, I'm going to put a poll up here. If you want to answer this poll, answer in the chat, use 1, 2, 3, or 4, just about what are you most excited about, what are you most interested in seeing today, whether that's legal research or projects and collaborations. What do you want Josh to talk about, security and privacy, or just sort of what the next steps are. And so let you answer that. Just do 1, 2, 3, or 4 to answer that. And as we get started here, Greg, glad to have you here. You're bringing the color today.
Right off the bike.
Right off the bike and right into the webinar. We appreciate you joining us today. Just to give a little bit of color, Josh, you're going to sort of walk us through the demo, answer the technical things, and really get us going there. Tyler, you're going to also talk a little bit about what the next steps are for people once, whether they're a current customer or whether they are prospective. I'm covering you up a little bit here with the poll, so I apologize for that. But then we'll share a little bit about our pricing structure as well at the end, Tyler. So as we get started here, I appreciate everybody for answering. We can see that a lot of people are really interested in legal research. We're also seeing projects and collaboration being a big part, and that's really how we built Visalaw. Isn't that right, Tyler? How we've sort of structured Visalaw to be. I'm going to remove the poll from your face real quick, but people can continue to answer. But you speak to lawyers every day, right? Yeah. So you know how important the collaboration piece is in the law firm environment.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we speak with law firms every day, and really what we're getting asked for, and what we're hearing is an AI tool that's actually helpful to attorneys, right? That's purpose built for immigration attorneys. We talk to so many attorneys on a daily basis who are using a general AI tool, and while those general AI tools are helpful, it takes a lot of configuration and a lot of expertise to manipulate them to the point where they are helpful. And that's essentially what we're doing on the back end at Visalaw. And kind of the value of our platform is we take care of all that that hard work. We let you be the attorney, you the expert in your field, and we'll kind of handle that AI component for you. So yeah, and we'll talk more about what's next, collaboration, things like that. But yeah, excited for the call today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Josh, I think without further ado, we know what people are excited about. They're excited to see Visalaw 2.0 and the capabilities within it. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you run wild here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining today. We have obviously a really big announcement. It's the biggest product. It's not really even an improvement. You know, Ian said it best. It's really a swapping of engines. I mean, we really are. It'll still be Visalaw. It'll still have a lot of the same functionality, but we are essentially upgrading our entire infrastructure and platform. So that's, yeah, it's the biggest change we've made since really releasing Visalaw back in 2024. So obviously really excited. There's a lot to talk about. From your perspective as a user or potential user, there will be things that will be somewhat different or largely the same, just depending really on how, again, I know I'm talking to really two camps today, those who have either used or interacted, who use Visalaw currently or are active customers or have used Visalaw, and then those who this is just all brand new to them. So I'm going to try to cover it in a way that is meaningful for everybody. But there are things that are noticeably different that I want to touch on kind of at the top. I guess the two ways I would largely just to kind of stay back high level just for another few seconds is the main reason we made these changes is maybe it's somewhat obvious that the technology is constantly evolving and changing. Yes, like generative AI as a technology is changing on a still daily, weekly basis, and we're obviously working to address and implement and adopt as cutting edge of technology as we can within certain safeguards. We talk about security and confidentiality and privacy, those kinds of things. So obviously we do everything within that lens of thinking about enterprise grade solutions, but a lot of it is just infrastructure, building a product that can scale as it grows. We have, grown in the usage of a product, the amount of data, the amount of queries that run across our platform. So it's just needing to be able to essentially grow this product at a scale, and also things like just performance improvements, being able to upload more files consistently, generate the drafts more consistently without, again, a multitude of users coming in at one time and us just sort of seeing, sometimes like lag and some of those things. So performance is a really key part, even though that's not, it's not going to be immediately visible on the screen. That was really a lot of the motivation behind the new build. But we do have some really exciting things that are going to be immediately different for you all. So I might go ahead and just share. I'm not going to demo immediately. I'm going to share some slides that will help outline essentially first 1.0 to 2.0, then high level, what is the sort of release and what does it include? And then we can do a few examples maybe in demo. And everybody on this call, feel free to jump in. Greg, Tyler, Ian, jump in wherever and get me back on track if I just go off on a tangent like I always do.
Will do, absolutely.
Okay. So can you guys see this okay? Can you see
Yep.
my screen?
We sure can. Yeah.
Awesome. So in the current production environment, what we call Visalaw 1.0, we do have essentially what we call research chat, right? Like we have this, what we believe to be the largest immigration specific data set, immigration legal data set that exists. And we're constantly building it, constantly growing it. A lot of the challenges that exist in our current platform are issues that we've known about really for some time and known we need to address them. Largely just the fact that everything is essentially siloed in our current product right now. So what I mean by that is you can run a research query, but maybe you also want to run some kind of analysis on your own documents and data, like at scale. But there's a reason why you actually want the legal data and your documents together as part of what we call context, or being used by the system to generate the response. Like you want all of that kind of to be considered collectively in that single request, something that's not currently available in 1.0. Also, even within the data sets that we have. So again, think when I mention immigration law library, we break that up into a variety of buckets. But think what we call primary law, so government sites, government data, agency data, can be some case law that is immigration related. And then, secondary sources, publications, think ALO link and our own data. We also have a large, content publishing kind of wing of the company. So we are generating content and putting that content in the system, and any other immigration publishers and publications that allow us to use their data. So all of that is coming together in what has been the immigration law library. And then if you wanted to search all of the case law, you could do that, or you can do that, but it is a completely separate journey from searching the immigration specific data. So sorry, I know I went down sort of a rabbit hole there. But those three buckets, case law, immigration data, our immigration law library, and your own documents, what we've historically called document Q&A, they're all walled in order they don't communicate. And even again, in our legal data, there's some isolation there. Well, all that goes away in 2.0. Sort of tee that up. So everything in 2.0 is available. And so that can be a little, when you think about it, maybe that's sort of a little overwhelming. It's like, how does the system know? How does it know when to do a research chat, or when to, search my own data, or when to look out and do some kind of like unique web search? Well, largely it can still be up to you. So there will still be this sort of like manual. You can turn on whichever specific filters, whichever specific data sets that you want. But there also is this intelligence layer that's going to be kind of built in, where it recognizes you're asking a question about more fact finding. Like you just want to figure out what the latest policy, memo was, or what the executive order, whatever it might be. It will be able to intelligently sort of route that request and use the relevant data sets that we have. Again, leaning heavily towards the immigration library, leaning heavily towards case law when relevant. And then, of course, you can now provide your own documents as part of that request, as part of that query. And so basically what we're saying is it is now a unified, what we call a unified experience or workspace, where you have access to all these different data layers, and several that have not historically been available. So if you'll kind of look at this little chart down here, it kind of lists out what's available now in 2.0 or will be available. And that's GovSync, which is a very precise web search of just the government sites. I think USCIS, other agencies, Department of Labor, Department of Justice were relevant. So we've got a lot of unique kind of filtered web searches that happen to basically, that addresses this sort of recency question. So yes, we have a lot of sort of automated data that's coming into our library, but maybe there was something that happened within the last 24 hours that just updated on USCIS website. So that's going to do this sort of like conflict check to make sure that the information that's coming from the library is current.
And then we have case law, except now it's not some isolated chat. It's actually intelligently brought in, or you can request that it be used along with the immigration library. So they're not two isolated things. They can be run together. So that's, I think, again, a big shift.
Josh, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Jump in.
Yeah. So just to clarify, in the immigration library, we've always had sort of the immigration specific cases, Supreme Court cases, district court, anything that was immigration related, we had in there. What we're talking about with the case law library is the 10 million case feed from Court Listener that we provide. That in the past you've had to basically access that completely separately, but there might be instances where, for example, you're doing research on immigration, where you need to be able to access state law information, and not just immigration specific items that are in our immigration library. And you can pull that information now into your queries along with everything that's in our immigration library.
Exactly. And there are two new areas as well, additional areas. So you can, if you sort of turn off the research, what we call mode, you can just do general web search. If you wanted to go out and find something online, pull information from a client's LinkedIn profile, or find scholarly articles related to, this person that you're doing some kind of extraordinary visa for. Think about all the reasons why you actually would want to, in a sort of separate kind of use case or task, use that capability.
And so, Josh, with this web search feature, and we'll get it, and we'll show you what this looks like in practice before we, as we sort of explain it. But I think the thing with web search that's really exciting for folks, and I think the thing that you outlined that I want to sort of highlight, is the fact that it does specifically pull from the government websites, right? Like that is sort of its first stop, unless you give it explicit instruction otherwise, which I think is a really beneficial thing when you think about, a lot of lawyers may be using ChatGPT, or they may be using Claude. And while those things can pull relevant things from the internet, and a lot of times they are right, this is such a much more accurate and precise way to find relevant content, as opposed, which, you can, if you use these frontline AI models, you may be, it's sort of a facade of trust that they can build up because they are, sometimes right from what they pull on the internet, versus Visalaw. It is directed and specific. You can sort of think of the bullseye analogy. Like it's going to be much more accurate. It's going to be much more precise in the way that it pulls that information when it is doing web search.
That's right. Yeah. So you have, you kind of, and again, GovSync is that really filtered, honed in, government kind of source of truth, real time, check. And then of course, again, sort of separately, you can always just use general web search for other tasks. And then lastly, projects, which I'll show you shortly. Projects are essentially, it's bringing everything from our entire product into like one space. So, you have drafts, you have translations, you have summaries, you have research chats, or maybe just general document analysis. Now all of that comes into what we call projects, and you can sync a project to a chat session. You can sync a project to a draft session. So now, again, these things aren't sort of siloed in the product anymore. They're all just this is a single record. Again, however you want to connect that, whether that is case specific, maybe it can be more general. So there is a fair amount of flexibility with them. And then, of course, one of the other pieces that we'll highlight is some of the integrations that we'll be launching with 2.0, which will be massively helpful for especially drafting, but for other areas too, like chat and projects.
Absolutely. And as you move on here, Josh, I will just bring this question up that was asked on if we're thinking of developing our own DocketWise type immigration practice management feature. Since you brought up the integrations, I think this is a good segue for that.
Yeah, for sure. So we will integrate with DocketWise in the 2.0, or I mean, I guess technically we do already. Once you get access, you'll have access to that integration. We're not really, our philosophy at the moment is what we call BYOCM, bring your own case management. So we are just trying to essentially integrate very seamlessly with all of the primary case management systems in our space. And I believe in this initial launch, we'll have a large portion of them. If there's a system that's not on that list that you currently use that you wanted to sort of have a direct connection with, obviously we can connect with those vendors and make sure they get integrated. But we're very open-minded and are going to be very aggressive is not the right word, but like intentional about expanding that capability. And it's not just case management either. So, we'll have Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, other data, others kind of sources of truth. And we're looking elsewhere to other kind of like document repositories that firms use that will be able to, again, sort of quickly sync with, so you can access and leverage our kind of intelligent AI with that data. So it's going to be, again, really powerful, I think, once you have that capability of like connecting your various systems. Don't know if that answered the question successfully. Maybe I got it. But.
I think the bottom line is we don't plan on doing anything specific to a case management software, but we want to combine with whatever you're using. And if there's things that you're using that are not connected yet, let us know, because we're really open to that feedback.
Absolutely. There's a lot of software, a lot of options out there in terms of like form filling, questionnaires, and kind of the client kind of facing portals. What we want to do is give you this sort of like intelligence layer on top of all of your data, and be able to essentially be what we now think of Visalaw as an intelligence platform. So, if you can leverage, the legal data, your client's data, and, as we're kind of expanding our coverage, even like real-time analysis, analytical data, you essentially are able to kind of construct in your practice. And again, as we kind of talk about the next phases of Visalaw, you'll really be able to build out a lot of like just pure efficiency, automation, and real-time insight. So this is, again, just a recap. I know we've already kind of mentioned some of these things, but this is essentially the new research engine. It used to be just ask a question, check our immigration data set, get an answer. Now it's ask a question. It will do real-time GovSync, which is checking the government sites real-time. It will conditionally check the case law repository, and then also, of course, review our own immigration data set. Then it will bring all that together, verify the citations are correct and valid, and rank them, score them, and then generate your response. So it's, again, in terms of what you're going to see in relation to accuracy, it's going to be sizably different. And so so that's really our focus. Our main mission as a company is, our first value as a company is accuracy first. So really in 2.0, what we're doing is really saying we're going to stand behind this product and say, like, yes, we're going to have, in terms of being able to get validated sources and sort of finding the right cases, the right information from the immigration data set, or real-time information, like that's all something that we're saying, like, yes, in 2.0, we're delivering on that commitment. So just high level, and I'll jump back into and I'll actually get into the product and see, maybe there might be some other questions after this, but 2.0 is actually going to be happening in phases. So what we're releasing, basically, our timeline is actually by the end of next week is to make it available for all of our existing customers and any new customers getting into the platform. That's April 30th. By the end of the summer, what we're adding on is what we're calling an intelligence layer. So right now we're swapping out the engine. Like we're basically taking like whatever Visalaw 1.0 was, or what we wanted it to be, but maybe it didn't quite get to where we wanted it to be, or bringing it up to speed, or helping it be scalable. All of that's happening in sort of this foundation, like bringing everything together, the unified chat, all these different data sources, connecting all those pieces. And then what we'll be kind of implementing over the next few months is more of I call it an intelligence layer, but basically giving you the ability to do more agentic type workflows. So think, again, some of the things we've really been excited about, and we've been testing for some time, are automation, various types of automation. So petition review, like petition audits, petition reviews, scheduled tasks that run on your data. Maybe it's reporting, maybe it's you need to just check whether something's current, or so there's just so much additional capability that's going to be there, and some things that we won't be announcing yet, but we'll be kind of announcing close to that time, just to build some excitement around, again, that sort of intelligence layer. And then as we kind of get to the end of this year, there are going to be some additional pieces that I think, are what we call sort of like, expansion. So we're going to build out, there's already additional kind of drafts capabilities that we're talking about, and near to drafts capabilities around compliance and things like that we think are going to, make something, basically distinguish Visalaw in terms of what it can do. So that's all that's on the slide deck. Is there anything on the question board, Ian, that I should address or we should look at before
I think just before we get into the demo, we'll go ahead and this has been answered in the chat on our list of integrations. We've got a number. Tyler's put them in the chat here. And these are just the ones that are available today. Again, like I said, we are our plan is to intentionally add on to this list in a way that improves immigration lawyers' workflow. That's the bottom line. If it helps you, it helps us, and that's what we want to do. So,
Tyler, we're still the integrations we have with Serenade on drafts; those are still in place. So we're build out the other integrations.
Yes, e-immigration as well. And we also have an exciting one with Candle AI, which is an inbox management software. And Greg, you've used that a little bit. I think you are pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm testing it. It's I think people will be pleased with what it does.
And we do have a question, Greg, and I'll direct this at you. Is Visalaw committed to immigration defense?
Yeah, I was just answering that. The answer to that is absolutely. And we actually did get in the Biden administration a reach out at one point from ICE, which we didn't entertain. But no, we're not interested in building for government agencies.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. So I see a few more in here, but let's go ahead and get into the demo, Josh. Let's see what we're working with, and we'll get to the rest of these questions here at the end.
Absolutely. So as it relates to the actual experience when you log in, it's honestly just much simpler. In 1.0, by comparison, there are a lot of cards. There's a lot of different buttons and text. Here it's really simplified, and this is the home screen. So when you first log in, you're going to have essentially this kind of new chat box, and you'll have options in this chat box, but not as much. Again, there aren't these sort of siloed, isolated sort of chat options you have to click between anymore. Document Q&A, private GPT, and legal research and case law search, like it's all available essentially in this sort of unified experience. So the first thing I'll kind of dive into and focus on is we recognize that this is such a massive transition in terms of conceptually and sort of how we've had things separated in the past. So we do have this sort of, I guess, I don't know if you would call it a safety net or kind of like just something that you can always bank on is the sort of like research toggle. Research mode is definitely still there. This will be this predefined, it's going to search the immigration data set. It's not going to search general web sources. It's just going to stay with the immigration data. It will look at the case law when it's relevant, and it will check government sites, again, if that is relevant to the question that is being asked. So that's you're basically, again, I hesitate to call it a safety net, but basically just like the place, you can go and get this grounded always, if it's on, and it will be on by default, you can ask your, again, whatever it might be, you're doing your fact finding, you're trying to check someone's eligibility, or all the various use cases where our immigration data set is going to be relevant. You can use Visalaw just as you have been if you're an existing customer. Then if you want to, again, get into more of like just general AI capabilities, like immigration tasks, legal task completion, you can turn research off. And this is where, and I'll give I'll run some examples here in a second, but this is where you can get, again, a lot more customized in sort of how you, like what data you're really using in your questions. So our filters are this is similar to what they have been, but you can, you can run any, kind of number of data sets. So like, or folders, or how, basically what we call categories of our content. So you can select between anything that's really in our immigration law library or not. If there's something that you didn't want, so say you just didn't want the non-precedent AAO decisions, but everything else, or you did or did not want secondary materials, like you can always just manually override that and choose it here. You can also upload files with the little paperclip icon. So just like now, you can upload files from your computer. You can select documents from your system, just like you have been able to in 1.0. And then you can also, and again, this is part of what's new, is you can go into your integrations and connect to, and I'll just jump over to that page, but you can go into integrations and connect with any of our existing integration partners. And like I said, honestly, by the time we launch 2.0 or right after we launch 2.0, this list is going to get larger. And so there will continue to be more and more integration options here. But basically, yes, you can connect to that path and select documents from a matter, from a folder, essentially just depending on the type of system. You can just quickly go in and find those documents. And then lastly, we do have web search. So that is something that, again, you can sort of hard switch on. Eventually we'll have ability for the system to, and again, getting into that next phase, that intelligence layer, that just might be something that's baked in. Like you put in the name of a website, or you tell it to go check Google Scholar. The system will just essentially be able to do those things. And then I guess I said that was the last one, but the last one is linking to projects. And I'm going to show you projects in just a second. This is a little different than document upload, because document upload is just you're having to go in and sort of manually choose files. If you wanted to link to an actual person sort of project folder, or you had just a general one that was for something else, like your templates, or again, just think of it like a document repository. It would use that entire folder, that entire repository, as what we call context. So you don't have to go in and select individual files. It's just going to be able to intelligently see, okay, you have all of these documents in that folder. Let me just, let me ask a question about, John Doe's eligibility, or like what's the status of that receipt or case filing or what have you. Like there is just going to be this essentially quick ability to sync that data with, again, with any kind of question or query, whether it includes our legal data, or you're just wanting to ask the question directly of the project without it. So that is really quick, high level overview of the different boxes. I will now quickly go into projects, since I was just talking about it. I'll show you really quickly sort of like what this experience will look like. And I'm going to actually do this. And so this would be a case specific project folder. So you can see you have a variety of things that can be connected. You can have documents, all of your drafts would be here. You could see, again, you can have chat history, previous chats that would all be stored here. And so this would be, again, more of the sort of like case specific project folders. They're very simple. They're not overly complicated, but just as like a single source of truth where you can have all your data stored there. And then if you wanted just like, again, more of a general project, you could have, again, it would just be like a general folder with documents, and you wouldn't have that same sort of like case specific detail on the right. It would just be chat history, files, and perhaps for some reason you wanted to connect some drafts as well. And so that would be, again, the sort of like general version of projects. And that can all be linked, directly to, again, the chat and those things. And again, so you could go and see that chat history within the project, or you could get just into your general, chat history, or search, your chat history and find that information here. Ian, I'll stop. Is there anything that we need to recap based on the questions you're seeing, or is that so far so good?
So far, so good. I think the biggest thing is let's go ahead and plug in a question here, and let's show people like what they can expect. We do have a question that I think will relate here, which is where does Visalaw source its research from? I think the best way to do this is to just go ahead and plug in a question and then discuss what we're getting on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. So let me see. I've got a TPS question here somewhere that was going to run. I'm just going to say like, and again, this is my rough, simple question. So what you'll notice is the system is going to check a variety of things. So it's going to think about where it needs to go to find the information, and then it's going to go there and it's going to pull that information. So you might see that it comes from the law library. You might see that it conditionally goes to web search, and you might see that it only sticks to our immigration data set. So you know, what you can see here is it's actually pulling from a multitude of places in the response. And you can go in and sort of, just like you can today, click into any of the sources and verify that they are what you're looking for. So we have the same, again, same sort of PDF, inline citation capability, get right to the source. You can ask follow-on questions. Again, for those who have previously used Visalaw, this should feel very, very similar to what you've seen before. The difference is that now we have additional data sets that we can pull from. So again, it will take some getting used to. And I think one of the things that we've already roadmapped is almost like a coloring differentiator between the different data sources. So you can see, hey, this was a web, hey, this was case law. Hey, this is, our immigration data set. Greg, I don't know if you were about to say anything, but.
Well, I mean, this is a good example of as well, where there are times when for research, it actually might be, especially for things that are changing every day. It's not a bad idea potentially to do the research query and just use the web on there, because the stuff that's public on the web is going to be, the court documents and the USCIS website, which may, for something that like with TPS is literally changing. Like, I mean, I did a talk last night where there were 2 major changes in the last 7 days on it because of court actions. That sometimes, that's a new thing that you can do in legal research that you couldn't do before, where it was just limited to our library only, or you could go into private GPS only, which a lot of people didn't think of for legal research, but now you can look at both in the same answer.
That's right. So what we'll have by, again, right now the government links just take you to the source. So like it'll just open up in a different tab. And so like I could go in and see that this was, of course, this is like the TPS site for USCIS. But what we'll try to do here is similar to how our own data displays in sort of this right column, is we'll try to also display the government side, so you don't have to actually navigate out of Visalaw to see that information. But again, it's dynamic. It's going to check that government site based on when it's relevant. If you want it to, like as Greg said, you want to make it mandatory, you can turn on the web search, and that's basically forcing the issue. So if for whatever reason you're like, I really thought that that the GovSync should have happened here, so you just hard switch on the web search, and then you can either ask it to try again if it didn't. And I also just want to emphasize the way that we've set up, and this is more of a user.
Josh,
oh, go ahead.
I think if you're on the Visalaw site, we're still seeing the USCIS.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry about that. So yeah. So I guess what I was trying to say is like if you're in the query and you see that if you did want the system to check the government site, you could always just basically manually switch on web search and ask it to try again. If the system didn't intelligently determine that it needed to check.
Josh, can you talk a little bit about like one of the things? This is actually, I think, a request that originally came from me, to turn citations off, because there are instances where you're using our library to do things other than actually do legal research, such as if you're trying to build out a questionnaire for a client or a checklist of documents or a case flow, and you may be accessing resources like like the cookbook or those kinds of materials or practice management materials that we have. And you don't want to have a checklist that you're about to send a client populated with a bunch of footnotes, which is, unfortunately, that was a problem that we had before. So if you're using, if you're making, if you're designing a query that's not really legal research, you may not want to have those citations in there, and now you have the ability to turn that off.
Yeah. So the citations can be toggled off and on. Ultimately, the system will determine, so let's say you wanted an email memo or you wanted to draft a recommendation letter or something that you actually didn't want the research citations to be included. You could obviously manually switch that off, but really the system is basically what we're saying is like, it should be intelligent enough to just know, okay, you need an email. I'm not going to create these inline citations in an email because obviously, that's just the having to change the formatting and all those things. So yeah, we're the like format of the outputs. That's something that we're currently building out, but you can always, like Greg said, manually just switch it off if for whatever reason you don't want that. And I'll say for those who are currently using Visalaw, are really interested or considering using the product, this is going to be something in terms of the sort of like intelligence layer of this. We're gonna want your feedback. And a lot of it just depends on the question you ask, but sometimes maybe you do want like TPS, like maybe it's great that it has all of these like government site sources because that's just something that changes like so frequently, like daily, that you really need it. Other times you might say like, well, the government source, the government site is kind of overpowering. I'd rather have more secondary sources or, for this, again, sort of like I wanted actually more case law. And it gave me a lot of BIA, but not, federal appellate court decisions or something. So those kinds of, that kind of feedback is just going to help us refine the system. And again, just getting us closer to what is the, again, I'm just talking about that first response. You can always ask follow-ons and filter down if you wanted to remove the BIA from the responses because you had just gotten a response and you had a lot of BIA published decisions in there, then you could obviously remove that and then or focus in on some specific court. And I know this is again getting more into kind of the court specific queries, but even if that's not relevant, maybe you do want to really hone in on the secondary materials or the primary materials, just like you always have been able to. You can filter in or filter out any of that content.
And so, Josh, thinking about the sort of resources that Visalaw is pulling from, we do have a question here from Andreas. Will there be a continued integration with Ayla Link as a source for information? And the answer to that is yes. We certainly will. A few more questions here that we're getting. So Tyler has already answered this one in the chat, but is there any limit to the amount of research queries that we can do? And the answer is no. You can unlimited. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a few more things in here. And I'm going to parse through some of these questions. But Greg, I know one thing that I wanted to mention was obviously we are now including BIA decisions. That's relatively new. And if you could just tell us, why.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that will be included in the release, and the full set of unpublished BIA decisions will be in there. And honestly, one of the reasons why it is in 2 rather than 1 is there's about 200,000 of them. I forget what the number was that on there. It's fairly massive, and we had to be kind of thoughtful about how we designed the setup so that those 200,000 decisions don't overwhelm the answers, and it's easier for us in the way that we've set it up in 2.0 than 1.0 to be able to put that material in. So that's one thing that's that's new. We also are scraping. We've been wanting to do this since the debut of the product, to have regular scrapes of government websites that will feed into the library, and that is happening in 2.0. So that's a big deal. And then we have also, Josh, can I say anything about our neighbors to the north?
Yeah, it's fine.
We are going to have Canadian immigration law in the product as well, and we're very excited about that. We've been working with a very distinguished Canadian lawyer that most of the Canadian immigration bar will know when we make that announcement who this person is, and we expect to have a number of Canadian specific prompts that will be specifically designed to deal with Canadian immigration issues and also access Canadian immigration laws. It's providing answers. So we are excited about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another question here. This is from Art. Does the government research include any specific info from the State Department route?
Yes. We have quite a bit of State Department information. The whole fam, we have the everything that's posted on the State Department website, all their announcements make it on pretty much everything on travel.state.gov. In addition to that, of course, we have all this, all the consular materials. And I do, I write a book on physician immigration. There's quite a bit of information in there regarding the State Department J1 waiver functions. I'm not sure when you say State Department, sort of like which part you're honing in on, but our goal for Visalaw is to be a complete immigration library that has everything that is available. And that would certainly be everything that is primary law, which would, and everything that is publicly put out by government agencies. We're doing more and more with FOIA now to be able to get things that are not necessarily accessible. We are, and of course, we have the secondary sources with various publishers to get you all that material. We have a JD Supra integration that gets thousands and thousands of articles written by law firms that are in there. So we want this library to be have everything that we possibly can, and we have a team of people that's their job to think about that every day and work on that.
Yes, and Josh, I see you've got your screen here. You want to walk us through what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so there's one more thing, and I know we're probably going to come up on time here in a minute. We have done we have implemented some changes as well to the law library. The two most important ones, and again, for those who are not familiar with Visalaw, the law library is just basically where we store all the immigration data that fuels our product. It is, you're able to not just, you can use semantic search just like keywords. So basically you can just natural language search for questions rather than just keywords like we have been able to in the 1.0 version. So you can, just like you would in the chat, you can ask just an open-ended question and it will generate the results, like the best results in the system based on that request. Or you could, again, maybe if you have a specific, you're searching by citation, you can obviously do that as well. And filter just like you always have been able to. So that's something that's different about the law library. Also, we are bringing in the chat capability to the library as well. So if you found whatever you're looking for in the library, but you said, that's a really long document, I'm just, I'm not sure I can find what I'm looking for in it, or multiple documents. It doesn't have to just be one. You can click File Insights, and just like you can in chat, you can ask questions to that data or to those selections. So basically, we basically brought the chat as sort of like a sidebar in the library. So you can, again, you could get to a lot of the same stuff in the just like sort of more powerful research chat, but maybe, again, you just wanted to ask questions of specific documents. You can do that here as well.
And I think that's a really good place to sort of tie it all together, Josh, because I think, when we think about what differentiates Visalaw AI from, a ChatGPT or Claude, the data set is so valuable. It's what builds these answers. It's we're not combing the internet. We're not going through Reddit threads to try to get our answers like ChatGPT and Claude maybe. We're building on this proprietary exclusive data set that we have, that's built on years and years and years of expertise, and that's what makes this so valuable. And I think this is a number of things that have been mentioned in the chat here as well. This is also a question we have. Somebody hasn't used Visalaw AI yet. Welcome, glad to have you here. Is it relying on sources like Kurzban? And does that mean it replaces the Kurzban in any way? Greg, I think you're most fit to answer this.
Yeah, Kurzban is one of the few things that we don't have in there yet from ALN. There was a reason for it 2 years ago when we debuted, because there were certain IP issues regarding that particular book. So we had most of the AL books in there, with the exception of 2 or 3, I believe. That's one. We do think that that's coming, but we don't have a date yet to announce that. The only thing I'll say about Kurzban, which is, obviously it's a great book, but it is it's a collection of citations and outlines of immigration law with those citations. And you're going to find all those cited documents in our library already. So you should be able to get to a lot of the same places that you would get with Kurzban. But we very much want to have Kurzban in the library soon.
Absolutely. And I am also putting in here into the chat my email. So Tyler, I'm going to bring you in here. One of the things that people may be asking is, we've brought all these great new features in. We've improved the product substantially. What's happening with price?
Absolutely. I mean, the short answer there, as far as next steps with pricing and subscriptions, is there is no next step. We are not, and I hope I'm not coming through blurry, but we are not increasing our price as a result of releasing 2.0. There is no additional subscription to sign up with to obtain 2.0. This will be rolled out to your current subscriptions within the next, by the end of May, potentially, or I'm sorry, by the end of April, potentially before then. So that's the short answer there with pricing. Is there is no next steps. There are no next steps. Everything is staying the same on those fronts. As far as next steps with, if you're not a Visalaw customer, as of today, schedule time with us. The easiest way is to book a demo using that QR code in the top left of the screen. You can also navigate to our website. We're more than happy to go through a demo with you, answer your specific questions. We'll go through pricing on that call as well. And we will set you up with a free trial period as well. So every demo we conduct does come with a free trial, and we'd love to set you up, get your feedback. And really, last thing I'll say on that is, if you are a current subscriber, and this is something that you're using alone at your firm, or maybe your team isn't using this alongside of you, we have come out with pricing updates that allows your team at a very low cost or relatively low cost to use Visalaw alongside you for drafting help, for legal research help, document Q&A help. So if you are a current subscriber and you're interested in learning more about expanding Visalaw into your firm, into your support staff, reach out to us, because we'd love to have conversations about how this can fit into your workflow at reasonable prices. So
absolutely. So it's an exciting update for me, Tyler. So I appreciate that. And we do have a few more questions coming in as we sort of run up on time here. Again, any additional questions, or you want some copies of today's output, just send me an email. I'm going to get you connected with the right resources. I'm going to get you the things you want. And if you are not a current customer, again, book a demo is the best way to get started. If you are a current customer and you want some additional help as we sort of move into Visalaw 2.0, and we get that started on a rolling basis and update that for people, book some time with our customer success team. You can email support@visalaw.ai, and they are happy to sit down with you for 15, 20 minutes, however long it takes, to make sure that you are an expert in the product. And so in addition to that, I think, Josh, Greg, I appreciate you. Tyler, I appreciate you guys taking the time today. Josh, is there anything you want to leave us off with?
Yeah, for sure. one thing that's practical, and then I'll talk about kind of high level. One, so for current customers, you will have access to 1.0 and 2.0 for a period of time. So basically, like next week, at the end of next week, when you log in, as soon as we make an announcement, we'll send out a notification. When you first log in, you'll have the option to choose between 1.0 or 2.0, and we'll give you the ability to sort of like switch back and forth again for a period of time as we kind of extend out this early access, just making sure that you can see everything that you were expecting to see, all of your historical drafts and chats and documents. Just want to make sure that gets carried over successfully. And then I'll end on a high note. Yeah, and you mentioned like what sets Visalaw apart. And yes, we do have this massive data set. I mean, that's really what is the distinguishing factor of Visalaw, and having, again, this proprietary data. But now that data is not siloed, right? Like just immigration, legal, like just legal data is great. I mean, entire companies, industries have been built around it. But now what we're saying is that Visalaw is no longer this isolated legal data that you can go in and sort of periodically ask questions when you have them. This is like something that's going to be embedded into your entire workflow in your firm. So it is the legal data. It is your own client data and system data. It is, analytical data, as we'll have more announcements about a lot of these things as things move forward. But you'll have it all, and you'll basically have it all in one place. That's really the goal. And then adding the AI capabilities on top of that is what I think is going to just give anyone who's using Visalaw this just competitive edge, really, on anything that's out there. So yeah, that's what I would kind of leave you with. Yes, it is data, but it's data that's no longer isolated.
Mm-hmm.
It is we are trusted advisors, but now that trusted advisor is connected in the places where you work every day. So
yeah, absolutely. And, it's a lot of the reason that that's possible is because it's been built out by lawyers. Greg, like this is something that sprung out of our, our practice, and so it's not software for the sake of software. It's software for immigration lawyers and built by immigration lawyers. So, well, we appreciate it. And again, anyone with additional questions, do reach out. Use the email in the chat. We're happy to answer anything additional and get you connected to the right resources. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Greg, Josh, Tyler. Thank you, everybody behind the scenes, and everybody who left a message today. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.